It's January, which means it's a new year, so we have a new bullet journal. I'm using the same theme that I used for my 2022 setup. It's just a simple star theme with a lilac-y color that is similar to the Pantone color of the year. I liked tying the theme from the beginning of the year setup to January because it felt like a fresh start, and in January is when we all set our intentions and our New Year's resolutions, so I felt like making that part of the theme and tying it into January was very appropriate. I just really liked how simple this spread was and wanted to enjoy it for the month of January and not just for the setup of the year. I don't always have an opening page to the month, and I had all of the opening pages to the beginning of the year, so for January I opened with my calendar. This is an A4 size journal this year, so the planning space is quite large. In a smaller journal like a B5 or even smaller, you would probably want to make the squares for each day of the month a little bit bigger so that it's easier to read. My squares here are 6x6 boxes, so it is quite big even though it looks small on the spread. To keep it a little bit different from the New Year's theme, I kept the boxes open and I didn't fill in the charts quite as much as I did for the other charts in my beginning of the year spreads, so that it would be a little bit more open and a little less heavy, especially with all the heavy black lines that are in the stars. The pages that I'm working on now are my trackers for the month, my habit tracker, my gratitude tracker, and my housekeeping chore checklist. I find that it's really nice to kind of break things down by room, by day, to help keep everything organized, especially with the crazy holidays that we just had, that it helps me keep everything organized without getting super overwhelmed or letting the house go into complete chaos. For the titles on each of the boxes, I'm using a much wider fine liner, or I guess it's a fat liner at that point. It's a 1.2 pen that I'll mark below. I just liked how it stood out against the rest of the background to make it look a little bit more like a heading without too much effort or taking away from anything, especially the star theme. And for the stars, I did outline everything with a stencil before I started, but just went over it freehanded-ish so that it didn't look too overdone and also wouldn't take way too long. And I find that sometimes when I'm using the pen and the stencil that I mess up a whole lot easier than if I just go over a pre-stenciled outline with a pen. The space remaining on the left is where I'll write in the names of all the habits that I try to follow every month, but because everyone's habits are different, I didn't feel like it was helpful to include those. My weekly spread includes 2 weeks on one spread, 1 week on each page. I did this because my bullet journal is massive and I don't need 2 pages of planning space for 1 week, at least I don't think I do. So we'll see how that changes later on. But I wanted to keep it very simple while still tying into the theme, so I did simple rectangles for each day while putting a star in the middle that I'll put the number of the day of the month in that, and then I'll put the letter of the day of the week on the top left corner of each rectangle. At the bottom, I then included the same stars from the rest of the spreads just to make sure that it tied in and added to the cuteness that I think the stars add to these spreads. And here's the final look of my January 2022 spread.